So a lot of us that get into gardening or growing fruit trees, it's mainly because we tasted a fruit, we fell in love, we went to the nursery, and we decided to grow it ourselves because we want to have that fruit every single year. But for whatever reason, the fruits are falling off early, they're not tasting like what you tasted in the ground, and they're not even getting full size. They're smaller than what you remember. Did the nursery rip you off? Or is something going on with your fruit tree? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to be giving you the top 6 reasons why that is. And they are going to surprise you. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's get started with reason number 1. And that is your plant is in a container. Plants in container are not going to be as strong as plants in the ground. Plants in containers, they will drop their fruits a lot easier. Just like this guava plants in here. All these guavas right here were full of fruits. This year it was windy and it was also hot. So guess what? Most of my trees drop fruits. Plants in containers, they get moved around a lot. So that's also going to contribute to your fruits falling off or not ripening completely. Reason number 2, your plant is not fully mature. So most plants you stick in the ground, they usually take several months to even a few years to fully develop the root system in the ground. Until then, they will behave just like plants in containers. And even if they fruit, the fruits are going to drop very easily. And that's the case with this lemon guava right here. I planted this tree in the ground maybe a year and a half ago. I did have some fruits, but guess what? All of them drop. Just because the plant is just not fully mature yet. It's not strong enough. And usually when plants get stressed for whatever reason, the first thing that's going to go is going to be your fruits. So if you have a tree in the ground and it hasn't been that long and you're losing your fruits, they're falling off early, they're not tasting right, they're not full size, most likely your tree needs more time to fully root itself in the ground. Until then, it's not going to give you consistent fruits. Do not worry, that is normal. What can you do about it? Patience. Everything in gardening takes patience. And that's all you got to do. Just wait. Reason number 3, ambient temperatures. Your plant is fully rooted in the ground. Everything is right. But your fruits are not tasting right. They're not even full size. This is my Ruby Supreme guava. Look how small this is. I actually have a video on how to grow this guava. And I posted it maybe a year and a half ago. And you can actually see what the full size fruit is. But this is tiny. And they're ready to eat. They're ripe. Look. But they're half the size to about 1/3 the size of what they usually are, and they don't taste right this year. Guava season this year sucks, simply because of the ambient temperatures. Your fruits need consistent temperatures for them to fully ripen. Consistent, day and night. I am in the desert, and while I can grow many fruit trees that most people think we cannot here, the problem is getting them to produce fruit. The temperatures fluctuate all the time. Too hot, too cold, up and down, and that is not good for ripening fruit. And as you can see, my fruits this year, they're small and they don't taste right. Now, look at it. Yeah, and they don't taste right. So if that's the case for you and you live in an area with inconsistent temperatures, or you're growing a tree that is not native to your area, this is normal. Every year they're gonna be different. Last year they were amazing. This year it sucks. Reason number 4, and that is water. When trees are ripening fruit, they need a lot of water or consistent watering. They do not like for the ground to go dry, because when the ground goes dry, the first thing that's going to suffer are going to be your fruits. This right here, it's a Ruby X guava, which is a seedling from the Ruby Supreme. The only difference between this and the Ruby Supreme is the skin of this guava is actually green. Ruby Supreme, it's yellow. But anyways, this guava tree was full of fruits everywhere. And my timer went out and I didn't realize it for probably about a few days. So this area here did not get water for a few days. This guava right here gets watered daily because the root system of this plant is very shallow and it doesn't really benefit from deep watering. So I have to constantly water this area to keep it moist. But this tree was full of fruits, it was super hot, and also got windy. And guess what? The tree dropped most of its fruits. Not only did they fall off early, you can see all of them dried in the ground. They were not full size from the ambient temperatures not being consistent, But I lost most of my fruits because this tree went dry. So if you have a tree in the ground and your fruits are falling off early or they're not full size, you know your temperatures aren't consistent, most likely it went dry on you. And this dryness right here, it's all it takes is for one time and your fruits are going to suffer. Reason number 5, guys, and that is fertilization. Now this mainly will affect your plants in containers, simply because plants in containers rely 100% on you for sustainment. So if you water your plants but you never fertilize them in containers, I'm talking about for years, not for a few weeks, not even a few months, because most plants you actually get from the nurseries have already been fertilized and they are good to go for the next 6 months to a year. But plants in containers rely 100% on you for sustainment. So if they run out of food in the soil, the first thing that's going to actually get affected is going to be your fruits. They will either drop early, they're not going to be full size, or they may not taste right. And this is normal not only because you didn't fertilize them, but because they're also in containers. Plants in the ground, they can actually take care of themselves. If there is no food in here, they will grow roots in another area where there's actually food. So they actually can take care of themselves compared to ones in the ground. Reason number 6, plants are not machines. Check this out, guys. They are living beings just like you and I. And just like you and I, we are all different. We're not consistent 100% of the time. Some years it's going to be a good crop. Some years it's not going to be a good crop. And even some years, the fruit throughout the canopy of a tree is not going to taste the same. This is why when people taste a fruit in my yard for the first time, I always tell them, go on the other side of the canopy and taste it again. Because plants are not machines and they will not give you consistent fruit. Like this figs right here. I got figs in the front yard of my house. I have different varieties. And I remember clear as day when this fig right here, I had a customer, he ate one fruit from this side of the tree and he hated it. He's like, man, I don't like figs. I don't know why people buy these trees. And I told him, dude, you know what? Plants are not machines, so they do not have consistent fruits. And never judge a tree just from one fruit that you eat from that tree. You need to eat several. So I told him, you know what? Go on the other side, especially the side over there that's getting more sunlight, and go ahead and eat a fruit from there. And he ate it and he was amazed. He couldn't believe that the actual fruit came from the same tree. Because this side over here, the fruit that he picked didn't taste good. The other side tasted amazing. So, like I said, plants are not machines. They're not going to be consistent. Some years are going to taste great, some years they're not. So if you're tasting a fruit for the first time, my recommendation is go around the canopy and taste as many as you can. Or maybe that year is not a good year for the fruits. So you may have to wait another year and try it again. Because a lot of the times, like I said, they're not consistent because they're not machines. Do not expect them to behave like machines. And that's it, guys. Very simple. I live in the desert. I can grow a lot of trees, but the only problem that I have mainly in my area is consistency. It's very hard for me to actually get a lot of my fruits to fully ripen or to have the same tasting fruit every single year. It's just very hard because my inconsistent temperatures. Doesn't matter how I water, doesn't matter how I fertilize. Sometimes it all depends on the environment around your plants. Anyways, guys, hopefully this helped you out. If you have any questions, as always, comment below. And I will see you next time.